After creating multiple generators, today's tutorial is going to be a very slow-paced, beginner-friendly tutorial on how you can create this particular very simple animating loop. We're going to try our best to go as slow as possible so that even if you've never used Blender before, you're going to know exactly how you can create your own and also learn quite a bit along the way. So with that, let's go ahead and begin learning how to create this particular looping animation. In your default scene, we actually want to use this default cube as a geometry node object, so we're going to let it be. We're going to bring our cursor to the junction of these two windows. We're going to click and drag to create a new window, and we're going to go over to the top left, press this little icon, and then change this from the 3D viewport to the geometry node editor. Once you have this set up, remember, make sure that the cube is selected, and with the cube selected, press this plus button to create a new geometry node tree. Once you see the new tree created, you can go ahead, zoom in, and then you can select the group input and tap X to delete it. Now we want to start creating our actual geometry, which we're going to allow for the looping to occur in. So let's go ahead and press Shift A and search for a curved line. So now the reason why we're using a curved line is because we want every single point to be present around this particular line. So let's plug this into the group output. And right now you can see it starts at 0, 0, 0, which is the origin, and it ends at 0, 0, 1 on the z-axis. But we actually want it to go on the y-axis. So we'll change this to a value of -10 on the y-axis for the start. And remember, it's still ending at 0, 0, 1, but we don't want it to end up there. So we're going to change this z value down to 0, and we're going to change the end to a positive y-axis, so a value of 10. So now we have this particular distribution for this particular curve. But remember, this is just a curved line. So in order to give this line some thickness, what we're going to do is press Shift A and search for a curve to mesh. So once we select this curve to mesh node, we can just drop it in right over there, and the curve gets connected to the curve and the mesh goes into the output. But we still don't see any thickness, and that's because we haven't told how we want the thickness to occur. So that's going to happen using this profile curve section. So that's just going to take some curve or some shape, and it's going to sweep it along this particular curve. So what shapes could we sweep along this? If we press Shift A and search for curves, or if we just press Shift A and go to our curve and we go to the curve primitives, we can see all of the different shapes that we can have that go along this particular curve. So if we were to use something like a curved circle, if you just take a look at what the curved circle looks like, it looks like this. But if we take this circle and then pass it around or along that particular curved line that we have over here, then we're going to get this particular shape. I hope that makes sense. Now we can decide how thick it is by choosing this radius. So we can just increase the radius up, maybe make it a value of 3, and that way we get this particular shape. Now the next thing that we want is to actually convert this into a volume. We want Blender to know that this has thickness, and we can distribute what is inside the thickness and what is outside. So in order to make this a volume, you need to fill caps, or else it cannot determine what is the enclosed figure. So now once the fill caps is done, we have it closed. We can then go ahead and press Shift A and search for a mesh to volume node. So once we plug this mesh to volume node right after the curve to mesh, you can see we now have a volume. Now the reason why we created this is because we have another point called a distribute points in volume node that's present right over here. And now this will just place points within that volume. You can always change the density of the points, so have it very less dense, or you can have it very dense, and that's up to you. But for now, we'll just keep the density at something like 1 so that we have a bunch of points. Now remember, these are only points. You can change the seed or the randomness by playing around with the seed value. However, these are just points, and we don't actually have control over the shape apart from this particular smooth shaded diamondish shape. So in order to get control over the shape, instead of having these as points, we can actually give this some geometry. So let's press Shift A and search for an instance on points node. That means at each point, we're going to choose some geometry to go in as an instance. So what we can do is we can search for an icosphere and plug that into the instance right over there. And there you go. We now have a bunch of icospheres on each and every single point. Now the icospheres are very large, so let's just reduce the radius a bit, and then we can increase the subdivisions to make them more spherical. So now we have really smooth spheres that go everywhere on each and every single point. You can choose to reduce the radius or increase the radius, but let's just leave the radius at something like 0.3 for now. The next thing is every single sphere is currently of the exact same size. The only reason some seem smaller is because they're further away from the camera. I actually want each of these spheres to be different in shape, or at least different in their size. So we can do that by using this scale value. So if you see right now, if I change this scale, all of them change. But this is a diamond socket. And because it's a diamond socket, that means you have control over each and every single one individually. So we can go ahead and change them by pressing Shift and searching for a random value. So now this random value, the output is also a diamond. That means it'll give you one random value for each and every single point. So let's go ahead and plug this into the scale. Because we want it to be one single value for all x, y, and z, we're just going to use it as a float itself. Let's plug that in, and now you see some of them are small and some of them are large, which is exactly what I wanted. However, I don't want them to be this small either, so I'm going to change the minimum value to be something large like 0.8, and maybe the maximum can be something like 1.5. Apart from that, I think some of them are still a bit too large, so I'm just going to reduce this radius from 0.3 to something like 0.25. So once that's set, I want to go ahead and have my camera go through this. So if I take my camera and just press Alt-G to clear its location and Alt-R to clear its rotation, I can press RX90 to rotate it on the x-axis by 90 degrees. Now if I go into the camera view by pressing this button or numpad 0, you can see that if I was to just press G followed by Y to move the camera front and back, there might be situations where I actually clip into these spheres just like this. So you see the sphere is actually clipping into my camera. So that's something that I don't want. So I don't ever want a sphere to block my path. So how I'm going to prevent that is I'm going to delete any sphere that is too close to my camera. For example, this one straight goes through the sphere. I don't want situations like that. So I'm going to go ahead, select this, and just remove everything that is close to the y-axis. So in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and move these over to the side and press Shift-A and search for a delete geometry. Now I'm doing it before I convert it into these icospheres, but because these are still instances, you could do it even after that as well. So let's just plug that in over here. Now currently I'm deleting everything, but I want to delete only a very specific selection. And that is if their position is too close to the y-axis. So let's press Shift-A and search for a position node. Now this gives me their position, but I want to know the position from the y-axis only. So I do not worry about the actual y value of this position. Because I want it from the y-axis, the y value does not matter. So I press Shift-A and search for a vector math node, and I simply multiply by a value of 1 on the x and the z, but a 0 on the y. Let's take this position as the first input, change this to 1 and the z value to 1, so that it's being multiplied by 0 on the y-axis, so that we just have how far away it is from the y-axis. But this is currently a vector. We just need to know the position, or at least we just need to know the distance. So we can duplicate this vector math node by pressing Shift-D. And if you want a detailed explanation of vector math, you can check out this video over here. But for the time being, we're going to change this from multiply to actual length so that we know the length of these vectors. So we can just plug that in, and we want to check if this length is lesser than a specific value, it should be deleted. So let's press Shift-A and search for a compare node. Now we're going to compare if this value is less than, let's say 0.1, then it should be deleted. So let's take this result, plug that into the selection, and now that is doing it for every instance. So that is exactly why we wanted to do it before it gets converted to an instance, so that we delete the point itself. So let's just go ahead, select these, move this over. If you have Node Wrangler enabled, you can press Alt, select to remove this. Let's push these over to the side and then plug this in right over here and plug this result in over there. So now this is still getting clipped. So let's just keep increasing this until we delete enough number of points so that the entire way or path is cleared. So you can see as I reduce this value, more and more come in. As I increase it, the path or the central area keeps getting cleared and cleared till we have a clear path. So I think some value like this is good enough. Now with the camera selected, we can press GY and you can see that there's no more clipping and we can pass right through. So right now the camera is placed somewhere around the origin. We can press Alt G to place it back at the origin. But remember, this goes from -10 to +10. So we can actually take the camera by selecting it and press GY -10 and bring it back right to the beginning. Now let's select this and just press Alt D to create a linked duplicate, followed by Y, and then choose 10 or 20, which is the entire distance. Remember, this went from -10 to +10, so the distance is 20, and then we can just move it by 20 on the y-axis by pressing GY20 to move it out over there. The reason why we're doing this is so that we get a perfect loop. So now let's take the camera and then tap I while hovering over here, and then in our timeline, let's go to the last frame. So if I want this to be 5 seconds long at 60 frames per second, I would have to go to frame 300. So now at frame 300, I'll just press GY and then move it in front by how much? By 10 units. By the length of the actual tube, which was 20. So I'll just tap in 20 and then tap enter. Then I'll go ahead and tap I to create another keyframe. Now this is going beyond the last frame. So I'm going to have to change the end all the way to that frame. So let's go change this to a value of 300. And now we have something that's going to have this camera animated, and it's going to start off slowly, go all the way through and end over there. But I don't want it to speed up in the middle. I want it to be a smooth speed from the start to the end. So in order to prevent it from speeding up and slowing down, you're going to have to come down here, tap A to select everything, followed by T, and then choose linear. So now that changes the interpolation to linear. And now if you want to prevent a single frame from being repeated, you can actually take this keyframe on frame 1, press G and move it back to frame 0. So now you'll get a smooth loop, which you can see by going into the camera view and tapping your spacebar to play the animation. As it goes through all the way at the end, you're going to see it suddenly jump back to the beginning, but you won't actually see a difference except for that middle region where you'll be able to see the ends. So now those ends just keep appearing, but when we actually go into the rendered version, you will not be able to see that difference. So the next thing that we have to do is actually give this some material. So let's just select this, press Shift A, search for set material, plug that in right after the instance on points, and we can select the default material from this drop down. And that should be good enough. Now you can switch this from the geometry node editor to the shader editor by again going to this top left button right here. So just select it and change it to the shader editor. Now to actually see what changes happen, you're going to have to go ahead and change this from a viewport shading of solid to a viewport shading of rendered. So now you can actually see what's happening. Then I'm going to just select this light, press Alt G to clear its location. And I'm also going to parent it to the camera. But before that, I'm just going to see where it is. So it's present all the way in front over there. I'm just going to press GY, bring it closer to the camera. And in the light properties, instead of having it as just a point light, I can actually change it to an area lamp. Now this allows me to change the shape, which might give interesting reflections on these particular spheres. So then I'm just going to go ahead and press Shift and select the camera and press Control P, which is going to set parent to object. So that means now when the camera moves, the light is going to move with the camera. So that's exactly what I want. Next, I can go ahead and change the color of the lamp by selecting the lamp again. And this time changing the color, maybe I can have this somewhat reddish or pinkish. It's really up to you. Let's just make this red. And then I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate it. And then I'm going to press R followed by Y followed by 180, which means I'm going to rotate it on the Y axis by 180 degrees. So now it's pointed in the opposite direction. Now for this one, I'm going to change the color to something else. Maybe let's make it bluish. And now if I go into my camera view, this is what I see. Now I can go ahead and then just press G to move this down, select the other one, press G and move it up till I get nice shading throughout. Apart from that, I can just tap R twice and things like that to just move this around until I'm happy with the rotation and position of my lamps. So this is something that is up to you and whatever you think is creatively the best. But once I'm happy with the position of those two lamps, I can go back to selecting my original geometry node object And that way I can play around with the material. So for this material, I just want the roughness to be really, really low so that it becomes very smooth. And to make much better reflections, I can go over to my render properties, go down to ray tracing and just check ray tracing. Now that will have really good reflections and it'll just look a lot better. However, the next thing that I want is to just change the actual background of this so that it's not gray, but it's black. So I'm going to actually switch this from object to world, and then first thing, change this all the way to black. Then after that, I want there to be some volumetrics so that we don't see anything beyond a point. So let's press Shift A and search for a volume scatter node and plug that into the volume socket. Now, originally, this is going to be way too strong. So I'm going to go ahead and just reduce the density down to something like 0.1. And that should look a lot better. Apart from this, you can go ahead and make as many changes as you want to the materials. For example, I can go to object mode and I can give these some sort of textures. For example, I can press Shift A, search for a wave texture, and then plug this into the base color. Now I can press Shift A, search for a color ramp, plug that in over here, and just play around with this, play around with the scale, and even the type of the wave. So instead of bands, I can have it as rings. I can have the sine value to be a saw so that you start off very sharp and it smoothly goes down. Apart from that, you can actually see a little bit of diamond-like shadings over here, and that's because we haven't set this to shade smooth. So let's just go back to the geometry node editor, and after the set material, press Shift A and search for set shade smooth, plug that in, and now that'll become real smooth, just like that. So then the next thing is maybe the rotations. If you want to have this rotate randomly and get some really cool rotations, you can press Shift A, search for a rotate instances node. Now I'm actually going to have some random rotation to initialize all of them. So let's just duplicate this random value. Now rotation is X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to change this to a vector. Now I'm going to change the min values. To select all of them, you can just Shift, select, and then drag so that all three of them get selected. And then I can change this to a value of minus pi. And then I can change this max value to just pi, which makes it 3.14, so that the total is 2 pi, which is one full circle. So I get 360 degrees on all of the axes. So let's plug that in over there. And now each of them get some random rotations. Now I can go ahead and just rotate it about their z-axes to give them all random rotations. So let's go back to frame 0. Just hover over the z-axis, change it to a value of 0, and then tap I. And then on frame 300, which is the last frame, just go ahead and change this to a value of 360 and then tap I. Now select this particular node so that the keyframes appear down here, then tap T and choose linear. So now when you play the animation, you're going to have them rotate as well, and it's going to look like they're rotating in random directions. So I think that is something that's really cool and is something you can play around with. You can play around with the lighting and things like that, the size, the density, how much of them you want deleted, and you can create so many cool effects. There are so many more animatable properties, which I think is very fun if you actually go ahead and explore by yourself. For example, the phase offset will help you give this sort of a trippy animation. You can go ahead and increase the detail and just choose some roughness. So instead of having a nice smooth look like that, you can just increase that roughness, detail, scale, and increase the distortion, and you can get something that looks like that. So it's really up to you and what you do, but have fun playing around with all of these to get an animation that's uniquely yours and perfectly suits the style that you're looking for. Apart from that, since you are using volumetrics, you get really good God rays as those form shadows. So you could create various wallpapers and things like that based on your requirements. So I really hope that this was very easy to follow along and the pace was extremely slow. And even as a beginner, you should be able to get through it without too many problems. However, if you do have any questions, feel free to let me know down below, and I will be sure to answer as many of them as I can for as long as I can. I want to make tutorials and videos that my viewers actually want to see, which is why I've been getting requests for slower tutorials. So this was an attempt at making a slow tutorial. I don't know how successful I was, so do let me know down in the comments below. Apart from that, if you want this particular animation and you also want it to be perfectly loopable, I have a generator that I've created on Patreon as well that you can download using the link in the description. I have various other Patreon projects, so feel free to take a look at all of those as well while you're at it. Let me know what type of tutorials you would like to see next, and I will be sure to try and incorporate them in the coming few videos. Until the next video comes out, thank you so much for watching. Keep creating, and don't forget to stay creative.